Remember, part of our objective is to get all of our resources orientated in the same direction, making them as easy on the eyes as possible from the perspective of the player of the guitar, who is, of course, located behind the guitar. For example, our guitar will look like I'm left-handed, but no, we just flipped it around to mirror your perspective from behind the guitar. And when we are behind the guitar, we have the fretboard on our left-hand side, the low or heavy string on top, left to right, towards the body of the guitar. Similarly, with our Excel worksheet, we have this representing the low or heavy string, the one closest to the ceiling, top to bottom, left to right, orientated as though we simply took our guitar and imprinted the strings on the screen. So we're going to go through basically a jam session now, and I'm going to try to analyze what I'm thinking in my mind as we go through the jam session. So I'm not saying this is a particularly inspired jam session, but one of the things I find frustrating when watching other people that are just jamming around is trying to say what is going on in their mind. What exactly are they practicing? How are they thinking about basically, the scales or modes or chords or intervals or what's going on in their head? Everybody's a little bit different, of course, because we can look at these things from multiple different perspectives. So I'll just try to look at what I'm doing here and try to say, well, what is it that possibly is going through my head if I can kind of remember that? That's the general idea. So let's see what we got. I'm going to start off with just jamming in my kind of normal little groove over here in A minor. So I'm going to basically be thinking of myself in A minor, and this is going to be the open A that I'm typically going to start to play, and then I kind of do my little shuffle pattern going from this E to this C. So when I open the C up, it goes back to the A to the C. So this is basically an A minor kind of a shuffle pattern. Oftentimes for me, I use the guitar as like a stress release kind of. So I kind of like these shuffle patterns. I really like the bluesy kind of sound, the minor blues in particular, and changing up the tempo just as, a stress release kind of exercise. So that's kind of where I've started more than working on melodies and whatnot. So that's just my perspective. So that's what. So I'm just going back and forth, and now I'm just kind of reaching up to here because I've been. So now I'm reaching a little bit up to here, and I've been messing around a little bit to try to expand my shuffle pattern up to this A. So this A right here is this A. So now I'm kind of thinking that I'm going to somehow noodle around between going from here to this open A, and then I'm going to kind of shift my focus up here and possibly do a shuffle pattern or a little roll forward on these strings, meaning I'm going to go from the G to the A. Now, as I do that, I'm thinking of myself kind of in the key of A. So I've been working on saying, how can I do these little patterns, these little things that I've been learning, and then switch them between the modes that I'm working on. If I'm working on A minor mode versus a mixolydian and whatnot. So when I do this little hammer on, I could do the hammer on and just make sure that I leave it on the A over here to emphasize the fact that I'm in A possibly. Or for example, if I was in G, then I can do the hammer on, but then a pull off to make sure that I end on the G. So I can do the same maneuver and make it sound like I'm in basically any mode that I want by basically tweaking the little pattern that I've got to whatever mode that I happen to be working on. That's one of the things. Now, the other thing I was kind of doing here is leaving, what if I have an open E and I play the open E, I pick the open E, and then I hammer on the G and the A. So I get a little roll pattern that ends off on the A, which is part of my shuffle pattern as I'm in, once again, A minor. Now, the other thing I'm kind of throwing in the mix here is let me close this up. I'm also going back, so I'm going back to this note as well. So that's outside the key. So that's going to be the basically the blues note. So you can see it's a flat 5. So when I'm kind of shuffling around in the A, a lot of times I'll go back to that note, and that's going to give me a little bit of tension-y sound. That's a standard kind of minor blues maneuver. So I'm just going back and forth through the shuffle, and then I'm shifting back and picking that one up. So for me, a lot of times what I kind of think in my mind is like, okay, I'm kind of leaning on that A. As long as I go back to the A enough, it's going to sound like I'm in the key of A. I'm not really thinking about melody. I'm kind of thinking about rhythm at this point more than melody, which is often what I do. And then I'm going to throw in quite heavily although you don't spend a whole lot of emphasis on it, but I'm going to throw in fairly heavily that bluesy note, which is the minor fifth, right? And it's the minor fifth because you could say, this is, if I count it down, this is going to be a flat fifth, right? The fifth is normally over here, and we're going to flatten it. And then, so that's going to be the general idea. The other thing I play around with and adding a note is usually to the lead-in note, which is quite common as well. So if I'm up here, for example, I might play this note to lead into the A because the minor scale doesn't have that leading tone as the major scale. So if I add a note to the pattern that's on the white notes that's not in the scale, those are usually the two. And then I experiment with the third rule that I kind of play with is I can always do a half step. So if I'm playing, I can lead in with a half step to any chord, or if I'm on a chord, I can shuffle back and forth, a half step back and forth for the whole chord, or I can basically take a half step into any note. Those are kind of the rules, right? So I'm basically playing A minor, and then I'm going to add the blues note, which is a flat fifth, and then I'm going to and then I'm also possibly adding a lead note going into the A, and then I'm going to also think about any half step I can play with, as long as it's just a half step, whether it be a whole chord or just one note, is my general thought process. So I'm just kind of working on, my pattern here. I'm just trying to get a little bit of a groove in the pattern and just work on my fingering and see if I can change the pattern in my mind, but still grabbing basically everything that's in this area is my major grabbing point. And I'm just grabbing everything that's in the key and trying to come up with a pattern with it while also adding this, the flat five, this one right here. It's basically what I'm doing. So now I'm just kind of trying to reach out a little bit more. So if my finger is here, I'm reaching out, to here from time to time. And there's an infinite number of combos. So now I'm gonna shift this pattern up. The other way I've been playing with the shuffle pattern is to say, well, this is kind of like what I would call like position one. That's why I've kind of put that there. But what if I move this all the way up to here? What happened? And I was like, okay, now I'm on this A. So this is what I call position one, all 7 notes. And if I'm here, I have this A, which is cool, and then I've got this open A. So I can kind of and then it's like, well, where can I do, if I was doing my shuffle pattern back here, I was going from like I was going to the C up top. So now, let me think about this for a second. All right, I tried to move down to, this is the minor, same notes that I was looking at up top, but now I've shifted it so I'm in the minor mode, Aeolian A. So I was looking at, for some reason, a different mode before, but all the notes are the same. So now I can see the 1, 3, 5 are colored in green, and then red for the 3, and the 5 is going to be yellow. So I was going from like the 5, 1, 3, right? So I was going 5, 1, 3, and so now I'm like, okay, well, what if I move that up here? So now I'm in like this basic shape on, I would call it fret 5, but it actually spans back this way. So if I'm on that shape, then let's make, so then I can be up here. And so there's that one. Now right above it, I have the 5 right above it, but that's a little bit hard to finger when you're pointing with your pointer finger. So I've kind of been working that into the shuffle, but then I can reach up to the 3 right there. So I have the open A, which is a double A, right? 2 A's here. And then I can reach up to the C right there. And then again, I can do a similar kind of pattern here with the C, E, and A, you know, shuffling back and forth while still kind of playing with that open A here. And then I can also reach up, so then I'll start to reach up in this pattern and do a similar kind of thing, just kind of changing the rhythm, but getting a little bit different tonality as we're in a different position on the guitar, doing similar kind of thing is my idea. So see, you can see I'm just reaching up here. And now I'm just... So my general thought process is I'm always going to go back to this, basically hit the C and then open and then hit an open string, which is going to pick up the A, open another A, and possibly the E, and then I can reach down here if I wanted a fifth. So it's basically going from the 3rd to the 5th down here, or I can grab that E there with the open A. And then when I go down, like if I'm reaching down, then of course I've got my 5th here, and then I've got my C down here, but oftentimes when I'm reaching down, I grab that G, which is the 7th, which is going to give it kind of a more bluesy feel, because you get that minor 7th in there is the general idea. And then if I move my finger up here, what I'm thinking is, okay, now I can play this 3 pattern here, here, and here, or I can reach up. But when I do that, I often will go boom, 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 like in some kind of pattern, and then reach down with my pick to this one underneath it. So my idea is always going to be, look, I'm on a string right here that doesn't have the note that I want to emphasize in it. So kind of how can I practice playing these 3 notes in some kind of rhythm, but still make it sound like I'm in A is the root? Well, I could play these 3 notes and then end it by hitting the note underneath it. So I bar off the one underneath it. Similarly up here, I can practice basically playing these 3 notes and then bar off the one underneath it still, which is a little bit harder because then I have to bar down here. So I play these 3 notes and then see if I can bar this one so that I still kind of emphasize that A, even though I'm playing basically, you know, up here is the general idea sometimes that I mess around with those patterns. And then how can I play these patterns going forward, play it backwards, and then hammer-ons and so on, and just kind of switch up the pattern. So then I was messing with, this is a really simple kind of pattern back here, but it's kind of fun to play. So now I've got my A like back here, right? So if I look at that A and I'm like, all right, let me go behind that one. So I'm like, let me go behind it and then say, what if I was to say, I can roll up. That's what I was thinking about before. I have an open E and then I hammer on from an open E to a G and then end it off at the A. And then I can also from below, I could say that I'm going to go hammer on, you know, open A, hammer on from C to D, and then up to A. So again, it's really emphasizing, you know, the root, maybe overemphasizing, right? And then I can also go back from D, C to A. So I'm just kind of alternating those patterns and ending with like a roll hammer on from E, G to A. And then a hammer on from an A, C, D up to, and then ending it with this A. So these 2 A's are actually supposed to be the same, but you get a different sound if you play them because they're in different locations, and you can tweak this one with your finger. So I'm kind of fumbling around with it. It's not my most inspired practice session here, but that's what I'm thinking. So I'm just kind of noodling around with that box. And you could do it like, if I was... Like if you get in a groove, then you can, just a little box like that, there's like an infinite amount of things you could do because I've got here, 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 and then the open notes. So that's, the combinations between 6 notes is pretty a lot. So now I'm just moving up here. Now I'm back to here. I'm basically back to here, it looks like. So now I'm on this A, I'm reaching up here. Okay, so now the basic idea I have here is that I was playing with this. It's like, well, what if I just leave this A droning open and then I just move up in my shape by reaching from this string to the one above it. So this was my starting point, because if I reach up there, I get a C. So I got 2 A's and the C, which is the third. And it's like, well, what if I move this whole shape up? If I move this whole shape up, then I can go, all right, well, then it would go right here. And then it's like, okay. And then it would go like right here, but then I'd have to shift it and shift this string up here. So that's kind of a cool sound just doing that, right? I started kind of messing with that. I was like, I could just drone on this A and then reach to the 2 above it that's still in the shape and be like, dun, dun. And then I got to make sure I shift this finger up here. So it goes, dun, like that. And then we could do the same thing going backwards. I can be like, okay, that works going, let me try that going the other way. I'll just drone on it going backwards. Dun, and then it would be like right here. But then it would be like, I'd have to shift up this string so it goes like that. Dun, and then it would go like down here. Dun, and then if I went back, it would go like to here. Dun, and then you run out of space. But then I can end it off. I've been ending it by going like from here and then here and then possibly here, playing this, which is a very tension-y sound because you've got from the F to the B, you've got a flat 5, and then from the B to the F is a flat 5. So then you end on that tension, then possibly to my open A, like right here. Oh, man. So then I go back to my open A minor, where I just have my cheating A minor, where I just have this one string and I play this open A and then the E and then maybe shuffle onto the C, you know, or you can play the full A minor, you know, going here, here, and then here if you wanted to. So that's my general pattern. So I think I'm messing with now. See, now and that's the tension that I'm relieving, and then I reached up to this A. So I ended it by reaching up this way. There's another way you can play the A. Here, here, A minor. Here, da, da, da. So now I'm ending right there, A. Right, there's my pattern. Now I'm moving backwards, same thing. And I'm just switching up like the pattern. Like what if I just switched up the pattern? And again, this isn't my most inspired session, but whatever. That's what I'm thinking. I'm not trying to make excuses or anything. So now I'm just kind of moving forward this way. And so what I've been kind of messing with here is playing, a lot of times when I play the A, I lean back this way and I play it kind of like this. But, you know, most people, when they think of an A minor chord, they'll play that A minor and go boom, 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 bar chord like that. So I'm in this shape. I can reach up to the second and then the third. So I've got the 1, 3, 5. And then I've been thinking about rolling into that shape because that's what I've been messing with lately. So open E to the A to the B. So give me a roll in, 3-note roll in, doot, which is kind of weird for the pattern that I usually play. It doesn't really fit into my rhythm as much. I've been thinking about how can I fit that in to kind of my shuffle pattern. And then, but if I play that, I end it on the B. So then I'm also thinking, well, what if I've been trying to say I'm going to play the open E to the A, hammer onto the B, and then a pull off to end it on the A. And so I'm going boom, boom, boom. And then I'm thinking, well, I can end it on the A and then maybe add the flat 5, which gives me the tensiony sound, right? So I can go June, and that gives me the tension, and then I can just mess with that pattern. So, okay, how can I play that here, 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 and just come up with different rhythms, and then shuffle onto this note, and so on and so forth. I'm just playing with that position. See, I'm going open, hammer on, but I'm trying to get it into a pattern that works with my normal rhythm that I've been messing with, which I'm not doing as successfully as I could. But I'm just pivoting around this A and looking at that pattern. So now I'm just going back to my normal pattern. I'm just not sure what exactly I'm thinking here. Oh, now I'm down here. So now I'm thinking if I go under this A, so there's my A right here, and it's like, okay, what if I went like under here? Then if I use my pointer finger to here, I can go, I'm going pointer finger, I'm going backwards from the D to the C to the B, and so I'm kind of practicing my fingering on this little shape, but it's like I want to practice on that shape and end it on an A. So if I hang out here too long, it's going to sound like I'm in like B Locrian or something, right? So I want to go, I'm going D, C, B, and then ending it with the A. And then I can shuffle that whole pattern up to here, noting that because this note right here is the flat 5 again. So I can add that into the shape. I can say, okay, I'm going to go here, 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 and then end on the A. End on the A. Or I can shift it up here, which is a reach, here, 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 and then end on the A. So that's kind of what I'm thinking there, I think. So now I'm back to my normal place up here, and now I'm doing that same thing where I'm taking these two notes backwards along the pattern, droning the A, and now that's this pattern down here, and so now I'm droning again, but now I'm on the same thing with the D here. So now I'm on the A. I'm going back and forth droning the D and then the A. See, now I'm on the D. So I'm just doing the same kind of idea. It's like, well, now I can do the same idea with this open D string. There's the open D. And if I reach up from the D to the F, I can play that. And then I'll just play whatever's in the key, which means I'm kind of playing in D Dorian now, right? So I can play from here. I can play from here and go dun, 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 and that ends it there. And then I could do that same thing going backwards from this D and go dun, and then it has to reach this way, right? Dun. I'm just trying to shift the pattern so it fits, and then dun, here, and then here, dun. And then we have the same ending kind of issue. I got it, it ends right there, and then I can have the same shuffle pattern with this open D to here, right? There's my D, or you can play like a D minor down there. And then I shuffle, and then I switch that going up to the A, doing the same kind of idea with the open A, and just kind of sandwiching that open A with whatever fits in the scale. It's like, it is what it is. And I'll just do that and see if I can make it sound cool. So that's just the same thing. I'm droning up and then droning back. Then I'm ending it off with my normal kind of shuffle pattern. Still playing with that. So that's something I do fairly often where I play this. I'm going to end it here. Like this is often my ending pattern. I haven't been doing as much here, but right there for an A. And if I play above it like this, then I could play that, and that's like an E minor. But then if I shift this up, then I'm playing in essence a type of E major. But and the reason that's useful, the main point is I'm adding this leading tone. So that leading tone is going to make it feel like it wants to lead into this A minor shape. Boom, boom, boom. So now I'm just kind of doing the noodling thing with this. Open E to the G to the A, and now I'm back here. I've been trying to do this pattern where like I can't really get it right now. It was kind of frustrating where I was going here, here, and then back to here, and then open. And then I felt like if I'm going one step back, I should be able to mirror that pattern similarly in a part of the shape where I can go one step back. Now, the reason I can go one step back here is because that's the flat 5, even though it's out of key. But I was like, what if I did that same pattern where I could go one step back? And so I was like, if I go from here, I got one step back. And so I should be able to kind of mirror the pattern, like a callback kind of, right? So I was like, well, if I go here to here and then back and then open, then I should be able to go like from here, from open E to here, and then back to here and open. Those two things aren't exactly the same interval wise, but they're close, right? And it's the same pattern, so it might sound cool to go, okay, I'm going open A and E to a C, back here, and then open D, and then I do the same kind of pattern up here, open E to the A, and then back one and open A. So it has that same kind of half step backwards. It's even though the intervals when I reach up here are a little bit different. So I'm just trying to do something it's similar but not exactly the same, you know, which could make it interesting, you know, but. So now I'm doing it slow. I can't really get the pattern down because I don't do this second bit. Isn't what I do all the time. So I couldn't really get it. I couldn't get my fingers to do it. But if I practiced it, I bet I could. I was doing it like last night. I was doing it a lot, I think, and I was doing it right. It was working. I don't want to see that anymore. That's lame. That's lame, dude. What else you got? Okay, now I messed up the speed. Back to normal. So now I'm doing the same pattern here, but I'm gonna go to the Mixolydian. So I'm like, let me mess around in Mixolydian. So where's Mixolydian? Same pattern, but I'm just gonna say let me make the Mixolydian the go-to. So now it's like, okay, so in Mixolydian, same thing, same exact pattern, right? But now I'm like kind of focused on that G. So I was doing the same kind of thing where I was like hammering on from the G to the A, but now I want to make the G the center point. So I'm going to hammer on to the G to the A and then end it on the G to try to make it the center point. So now I'm playing like in a major blues, right? Mixolydian is a major mode. So I'm playing, G major, blues basically is the general idea, because the Mixolydian is the thing that has that flat 7 in it. So I'm basically just going, when I'm up here, like I'm gonna, so now like here's my home base here where I've got the lean forward shape, and I'm emphasizing here this is what I call the three pillars when you're in Mixolydian. So if I can reach up those three, I've got that pattern. But even though this is the same pattern we looked at before with the minor pattern, and then when I'm up here, I've got this G. So if I lean that forward, there's the 5, and then here's the 7, which gives it that bluesy feel because that's the flat 7, as opposed to in a major scale. And then I also have, when I'm down here, so then I also have, I've been messing around with this, like playing, I think it's this one, because the third is the bluesy note here. So you can kind of mess around with the third. So if you're in the top pattern here, you can go from here to here and then play this one. There's the minor third, and then go up to the major third, and then similarly, so that also is down here. So this is kind of an interesting thing down here where I can play kind of this third as I play like the open G and maybe the open A. So I'm kind of like droning out. So I'm kind of like droning out the G right here. So I'm kind of playing with this open G as I'm up here in the middle of the guitar, basically. That's what I'm thinking, I think. So now notice I'm doing the same kind of hammer-on pattern. I'm trying to think, look, I've been doing a hammer-on pattern where I go from open D to G to A when I was in A minor. So I should be able to just convert that pattern to B and G by, instead of ending on the A, I go from open D to G to A and then back to G, just to keep it hammering on the G, right? So I'm trying to just convert what I do with A minor to now make it feel like I'm in G Mixolydian by just basically changing it a little bit, changing the things I know to like start or stop on G is the idea. So now I was doing the standard kind of the 3 pillars up here. So I was going back. It's easiest for me to play. Reaching up here is hard. I've been stretching my fingers out. I don't have huge fingers. And when you're on the G, a lot of people don't play this kind of blues in G as much, because if they're doing this reachy stuff, because it's easier to play like in A or in like E minor, A Mixolydian or A major, or E Mixolydian or E, because you can kind of cheat with the E because you have the open E, so you don't have to reach, you don't have to do that reach thing. But you can but G is what I'm used to playing because it's the same notes as A, and if you can reach it in G, it's possible. My hands aren't huge and I can do it. So then if you could do it there, then you could do it just about anywhere except maybe F, right? If you but so that's pretty. So if you could play the Mixolydian in G and reach these 3 pillars, stretching your fingers out across there to do that, then you should be able to play it in A quite easily. And E, you would think would be harder because you're in the low area of the guitar, but because this is fret 0, you don't have to reach with that one. That's why the E minor is kind of just kind of cheating, but it's great. So that's that one. So now I'm just kind of noodling around in this shape. So another ending point that you wouldn't expect when I'm playing. So I'm just kind of noodling around in Mixolydian and trying to end it on a Mixolydian sound. So if I go here, and if you reach up to that B and then the F, then that's basically a form of, so when I'm on this note, it's like, okay, I could end it off by, if I'm on this note, by pivoting down here and then to this F, which is cool because that sounds cool, but it's a little like not as heavy a sound because you're at the top, because you're at the lighter strings. So I could also reach up this way, reach up to that B and then the F. So now it's kind of inverted, but now I still get that B and I get that F, and I get the F, which is the 7th. So I can actually, when I play this, you might not see that as a G, chord, but it is, right? It's going to make it sound like it's a G. So when I move up here, I can end it there. So I'm kind of just noodling around and then trying to end it on some kind of G mixolydian, adding the 7th if I can, but not always adding the 7th. If I don't add the 7th, it's just a 1, 3, 5 G major chord. So now I'm noodling up to the top of the guitar, and it's like, okay, there's another G right here. What if I kind of were up in this register on the guitar? Well, then if I'm on this A, I was noodling around before with this same shape, and I was saying, okay, I'm going to play boom, 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 and then play the A underneath it. So when I practice like just this shape, it's going to make me sound like I'm in A minor. But then I can just convert that and say, well, now I want to make it sound like I'm in G mixolydian. So now I'm going to emphasize when I hammer on, doot, 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 and end it on the G. Or whatever pattern I'm doing, I'm going to try to emphasize the G instead of the E where my pointer finger is, or the A. So same kind of idea. When I'm in this G, then I have this pattern. That's going to be my like C-shaped pattern that I can reach down here. Or if I want to add the 5th, I have to kind of convert it up to there. Or you can move up here and I can end it with this pattern. So this little pattern is a mixolydian, right? I mean, it gives me the 7th in it. So if I play that, I get the 7th. And then if I lean forward on this pattern, I get the A shape. So I have over here. So so now I'm just going to kind of noodle around in this position where I end with some kind of G shape, which is going to be either this G shape, or I just play the 1 G note as I play boom, 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 or something like that. Or it's going to be this G shape, or then I completely move the G shape forward up to here, which means I don't really have to play this note if I just move it, just bar that off. Or I can add that note to give it a little bit more heaviness, or I bar this off and pick up that note, which gives me the 7th again. See, now it's the A, that's the A shape. And now I'm just kind of working my way back to the normal G. So there's my normal G. So now I'm back over here again. So now I worked my way back into that G shape right here. And so now I'm back in the back of the guitar. Of course, you have the G that we're looking at here. If I'm noodling around this G, I have the lean forward G, which gives me this shape. Leaning forward, you'd have an E major shape G chord. The normal G that we all know and love is going to be this one. So that's my open shape. So we have this up here, and that's that shape. But if I want to add the 7th to that shape, then I can just move this one up here. So I could just play like these 3 notes, and then also if I add the open G, like I can have the open everything, right? So if I just play these 3 notes and then the open G, I get another G and I get another B, which is a 3rd, and I don't have to really play that bottom note. I can mute it, or if I play the E, it's at least still in the key. It's the 6th, right? So that's going to just be the same. So this will, if you grab that F, if you just play your normal G chord, then you're like, I'll just play that F instead of reaching down here for this G. It's going to sound more bluesy. So now I'm just doing a shuffle pattern. The standard bluesy shuffle pattern, if you can reach it, right, is to play here and then shuffle up to here. So I usually, when I do that, if I'm going to shuffle up to here, instead of playing this with my ring finger, I try to reach that distance with my middle finger so that I have my pinky can reach up to here. And if you can reach, you can also go up to here, and that's going to be, once again, that 7. You can do the same shuffle pattern down here because if I'm in mixolydian, I have the same 3 pillars rather than in the major. So if I go down here, I can reach up here and grab 2 G's and possibly that open C and whatnot, and then shuffle up to this A and back. So there's the G. I'm rotating around that G. So when I reach up here, you can always play with the thirds. So sometimes I just try to mess with the thirds because the bluesy thing to do is that's the blues note, is so if I'm reaching from this up to here, I can reach that and slide it forward. So jun, 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 right? So that I'm hammering, and then I'm going to end it by hitting that, and that, so that it's a form of G chord. This, the major third, and then the 7. So now I'm just kind of messing in the normal shape. Not very impressively. So now I noodled it down to here. So now I'm on this G. And now I went up to this G. Now I went to that G. So see, I kind of just ended it off with this boom before going into my next pattern. So now I'm just doing this pattern. So now I was playing that one right there with the open G and B, and then the flat or the minor third. Now I'm ended it off on this one. So let's stop it there. So was I doing anything else interesting? Oh, I was shifting, doing that same thing with the G over here. That was kind of cool. I kind of like that. But because I was thinking you could do the same drone thing. We have an open G here. So you could do the same droning thing if I reached from here to here, even though I'm in a major instead of a minor like I was doing it before. So now I'm droning up, right? So now I have a G and then the B, and then I'm droning an open G. So if I just like, let me do that same thing and say, what if I went up to the next pattern? It would be here, and then I got to reach up to here. I had to change it a little bit. It would be like, I was doing this. It goes like this. Let me do it this way. I was doing this, and then I'm adding my other finger here, and then here, and then I basically move this forward here, and then I went back to here, and if I move this backwards, it would go to here, and then if you go back to here, that kind of ends it because you're kind of back home, right? Because you got 2 G's and a 5th. So I could bring it back here first, maybe, and then bring it back forward. And then I often will end it by putting my finger there, and then playing the normal G pattern, which is here, here, and here, which is like if the bar chord was up top, that would be like your normal E-shaped, E major shaped G. So once again, I'm just basically saying, okay, I'm gonna just drone this up like this, but instead of moving this shape forward to the A, I'm just gonna put my finger here, and then here, and then move these 2 forward. I move the whole shape forward like that, and then just go back to this shape, and then when I move this shape back, I bring it back to here, and then you could drop this note back here if you wanted to, and then instead of going back to here, I go back to here first, so I don't like end it yet, and then I go up to here, and that kind of ends it because I'm back to G, but then I put my finger down here, which gives me and then to my normal G pattern, which is back here, boom, 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 which kind of ends it off, and then I could end it off with a G pattern here, do, 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 and then follow that with a G pattern here, goes, duh, 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 and then to the G pattern here. Duh, duh, duh. Anyway.